Straight bonkers. Introduced in issue number 3 of Rob Liefeld's Youngblood limited series as a flip book story before being spun off into his own series. His history varies. At one point, he is an angel of vengeance who quotes the Bible to justify his actions. At other times, such as when he defeats the Norse god Thor and takes his mystical hammer, Mjolnir, Supreme considers himself a god. Although the most powerful being in the Liefeld universe, he has his share of defeats. He is killed in the cross-titled Deathmate Black series, published by Image and Valiant Comics, loses his powers in Extreme Prejudice, and is killed by Crypt in Extreme Sacrifice. The character receives a comprehensive treatment in The Legend of Supreme, a 3-issue miniseries by Keith Giffen and Robert Loren Fleming. In the miniseries, reporter Maxine Winslow investigates Supreme's origin story. Winslow learns that in 1937, Ethan Crane shot and killed 2 men in retaliation for a rape of a 15-year-old girl. Crane was shot by 2 police officers but survived and was sentenced to life imprisonment. In prison, the government offered him a chance to participate in a human improvement experiment in the hope that, unlike the 6 previous guinea pigs, he would survive. Although Crane died like the others, he returned to life in a world which was strange and new to him. He found his way to a church where he received sanctuary from Father Beam and discovered some of his new abilities. Crane took the name Supreme, and hearing about the war in Europe, decided to do his part. Little is revealed about Supreme's work in World War II, except that he joined the Allies. After the war, Supreme believed that he had done his part as a good Samaritan and left Earth. In reality, Father Beam's accidental death at his hands drove him away. Supreme spends decades in space fighting several threats on the side of an alien race known as the Caliptans, the race of Gary Coulson and Eric Larson Vanguard. He returns to Earth in 1992 to find a changed society which includes genetically enhanced superpowered humans on teams such as Youngblood, straight up one of my favorites, directed by Alexander Graves, later revealed to be Lucifer, and Heavy Metal, directed by Jason Temple. When Supreme reappeared on Earth after 47 years, Temple was convinced Supreme would be Heavy Metal's perfect leader. Although Supreme is briefly the field team leader of Heavy Metal, he leaves the position after defeating the villain Chrome. Man, I love that book. It was fire. When Supreme fights Thor for Mjolnir, a character named Enigma acquires another Supreme from an alternate timeline to store in if Supreme is defeated. Supreme is victorious, so the other Supreme is left alone. This figures in the events of Legend of Supreme. Although Supreme apparently dies during an assault on humanity by Lord Chapel, he is stranded on alternate Earth for several years until the alternate Supreme, stored by Enigma, returns and is defeated by the original Supreme. Original Supreme switches bodies with his double, restoring his powers after several events involving Enigma and Probe. Supreme's daughter from the future, also known as Lady Supreme, the original Supreme, works with Probe, Enigma, and the alternate Supreme to defeat the evil Norse god Loki, who shifted realities. At end of Supreme number 40, Probe remains on the alternate Earth and Supreme returns to Earth. Now enters Alan's Moore by Rob Liefeld, asking Alan Moore to write for Supreme from Supreme number 41 until Supreme number 56. After Darius Dax is defeated, Supreme finds an ember of Judy Jordan's consciousness in her body and transfers it to a Suprematon android. Although Judy now has superpowers, she has trouble adjusting to another body and missing the last 20 years of her life. That's crazy. S1, the only other sentiment Suprematon, expresses his love for her. He changes his name to Talos, and they are married by Supreme in the Cathedral Supreme, which is Supreme's floating fortress. They leave Earth and find an uninhabited planet on which to live. Ethan Crane's romance with Diana Dane falters when she becomes annoyed with the way he gets all weird and runs away. Straight bonkers. After arranging a meeting as Ethan, he tries to reconcile with her as Supreme, giving her a tour of the cathedral to give her ideas for Omni Man, of Invincible. Yeah, he created him. After a trip to the Supremacy, Diana discovers that Ethan's identity and is willing to continue their relationship. After Darius Dax becomes the Supremium Meteorite at the end of the story, the year he is sent to Daxia, a place similar to the Supremacy. Every version of Dax before him lives in Daxia, including Darius Duck, Daxor, Daxion, Doomsday, Mad Scientist, Dax, and serial killer transvestite 1980s Dax. The combined intelligence of the Daxes allow him to return to the land of the living. Again, trying to destroy Supreme, he sets in motion another chain of events involving Billy Friday and Master Meteor. Echoing this change, Supreme encounters a number of previous retired and parallel iterations of himself, living in another reality called the Supremacy. The Supremacy is a form of afterlife for characters whose stories had ended or have been written out of current continuity. After experiencing amnesia, Supreme's returning memories are told on the page and flashback from form, revising and retconning the character's complex and often rewritten backstory, often in pastiche style evoking different periods of comics history. Darius Dax, a Lex Luthor lookalike, something like that, like evil genius and Supreme's antagonist, is introduced in this storyline. Dax dies twice in this series. The first time in prison from lymphatic cancer caused by exposure to Supremium, and he just straight bonkers. There you have it. I am your comic connoisseur at the campfire. So just go in full nerd mode by clicking like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to be notified when new content has been uploaded. Then you will be crowned an official comic connoisseur. I'm Rafa Elm City Comic Book Collectors, and I'm out. Peace. Now, here's a low-key gem for you. Ethan Crane, a.k.a. Supreme. That's Omni Man's creator. Invincible, Nolan. Yeah. Comic connoisseur. I'm out. Peace.